Welcome back to the live stream on Facebook of the Food Tank Summit in Chicago. Good morning, everybody. We did one just a few minutes ago and found that somebody from Madrid was watching it. How cool is that? So, if you're in Singapore and you're watching the live stream, let us know because we want to know. And if you got a question, you can use the hashtag #FoodTank. We want to thank Organic Valley for sponsoring these live segments that are streaming on Facebook. I'm Mike Novak, and I have a radio show in Chicago called, ironically, The Mike Novak Show, and I cover green, gardening, and environment issues, and among those issues, local food. That's why I'm here today. You can go to my Facebook page, The Mike Novak Show, to see this live streaming. You might be already on the Food Tank Facebook page watching the live streaming, or Daniel Nierenberg's page. And also in the room, you can't see them, they're behind the scenes, but Peggy Malecki, who's the co-host of my show, is here. You might even try seeing the live stream at Natural Awakenings Chicago. Tom Mose is here, he's been helping us out. Chris Brown, I appreciate it. There's technical people behind the scenes, and that's great. But sitting next to me is Stacey Kole from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, and you guys are one of the co-sponsors of this. Why are you involved in the Food Tank Summit?
We're incredibly excited to host this event. We know about Food Tank Summits from the work they've done in DC. We saw that the topics that they are interested in discussing are topics that are really meaningful issues for us all today, and so we wanted to be part of this. Chicago is one of the epicenters of food, as you well know.
Yeah.
Great dining, but also the hub of markets around food, and so we really thought that we wanted to be part of this very first discussion here.
Well, Chicago is becoming one of the urban agriculture hubs in the country. There are a number of cities like that. I'm from Detroit. Detroit is turning into a city that is like that, but it's a movement in the United States. It's happening, and it's happening all over the world too. A friend of mine went to Cuba, and he said that he was most impressed by the local growing that goes on in Cuba, and that's something we're going to become more familiar with as time goes on now. But you personally, are you in the food realm here at the University of Chicago?
I'm not. I wear a few different hats. I'm a faculty member, and so I teach classes around managing the workplace. We don't do a lot in the agribusiness space, but many more of our students are launching new ventures in this space. And with my dean hat on, I work with our students, and our students are very, very passionate about these issues. And so we wanted to get closer to what the kind of national discourse was, and so that's what brings me here.
Well, how do you know that the students are that interested in these issues? In what sort of situations do they tell you about this?
They tell us by the creation of groups. So a few years ago, a number of students back in 2013 started a group called FEED, Food, Environment, Agribusiness, and Development. Their purpose was to gather like-minded individuals to discuss important pressing issues around food, around social inequality that results in food deserts. But they also are speaking with their feet. They're going to work for companies like Cargill that feed the world, like Ecolab, that worry about food security and food safety. And so they are being driven by their interest into dialogue and discussion, but they are taking their skills to the marketplace because they're passionate about feeding the world.
Well, you just did an introduction here and kind of a welcome to folks. So what were you telling the folks out there?
I talked a little bit about the University of Chicago's focus on the creation and dissemination of knowledge. And so we do a lot of research here with the goal of making life better. I mentioned our Nobel Wall, which has...
Not a lot of schools have a Nobel Wall, though, at least not in the same way that you do. Your school alone has 6 Nobel laureates, all right?
Alive.
Okay.
So we actually have more, but who's counting? Yeah,
yeah, really,
And so,
you've seen one Nobel laureate, you've seen them all.
But I think the important point that we're making is that the research is not simply to sit apart from regular people, but to take the ideas and put them into action to make life better. I talked a little bit about the work that was done by 3 of our faculty, Harry Davis, Candace Prendergast, and Dan Eisenstein, who worked with what was then Second Harvest, is now called Feeding America, to design an efficient food allocation system so more food donations could get to hungry mouths. And so the work being done here is really changing the world, and it's work we're very proud of. So I talked about how our desire for creating knowledge and disseminating knowledge was exactly why we wanted to be here at this event.
You're already saying this, but let me just ask you, you're obviously hopeful about being able to change food systems in the world.
Yes, I'm a shameless optimist. I believe we can each day make things better. We wake up, we have to deal with the situation we're given, and we make the best of it.
So do you grow stuff yourself?
I do. I have my youngest child is a total foodie. We have a garden in the back. We grow tons of different varieties of tomatoes. My favorite are the zucchinis because you have to really look for them as they're hidden behind those giant leaves.
Well, then you probably know this was kind of a tough year in this area because powdery mildew hit and stuff like that. I grow zucchini, I grow squash, and about halfway through the growing season, those plants got kind of wiped out.
We were creative with the blossoms.
And what, you like to grow zucchini. What do you like to eat?
Any type of good food. It's like lightly spiced, not too overwhelming. So this is such a great food city. There's so many wonderful restaurants. I'm not going to put a plug in for any one particular one. I'll let those guys do that themselves.
Getting back to your kids, though, did you teach them about growing, or is it that you said they're foodies? Did they discover this themselves?
My daughter did a summer program that was related to food to table, and actually she's applying to colleges right now and looking only at schools that do food science. So a combination of incredible resources in our community. Our temple actually runs a gardening program, working at food banks, and what she learned at school, we created a foodie.
Well, thank you so much, Stacey Kole from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business.
Thank you.
And thank you for welcoming everybody. There's a lot of people out there, obviously. Yeah, it's a great turnout. We thank you for watching on Facebook. The live streams, we're going to continue to do it this morning. Go to hashtag Food Tank, or use that if you're going to make comments or questions. You can go to my website, The Mike Novak Show, and we will see you in just a little bit.